Welcome to Journey Home to Self. This is a place for us to explore the milestones, the roadblocks, the pit stops, and the breathtaking sights on the most important journey of our lives, the journey of coming back home to you. My hope is that through the stories, insights, knowledge, and wisdom we share here, you get inspired and activated to widely fall in love with choosing yourself every single moment. I'm your host, Deepshika Sairam, and I am truly so excited and honored that you are here. Let's dive in and journey home to self together. Hello everyone, welcome to Journey Home to Self. This is a bonus episode that we're releasing for the launch of the show, and I'm so excited and so grateful for all the support that you all have shown us. It is unbelievably joyful to hear from everyone who's enjoying the show and to read the reviews. Keep them coming in. You all know we are running a raffle, which is actually ending tonight. We have 2 beautiful shows that were launched on Wednesday and 2 bonus episodes coming out today. So go binge listen to all of them and give us a 5-star review. I'm giving out 3 great prizes. The first one is an energy healing 101 session with me where we use the modality called the emotion code. There is a link in the show notes that explains what emotion code is. Essentially, you and I are going to be working together and we will untrap all the hidden emotions that are in your subconscious. Go check out that document which explains what emotion code is and enter in the raffle. The second prize is a free ticket to Journey Home to Self live virtual experience, which we're going to be doing in December. And the third prize is my favorite oracle deck, the Goddess Oracle, which I use almost on the daily to get guidance for a full moon ritual. And every time when I have a question, a doubt, I go to the Oracle and it is bang on for me. I love it and I would love to give it away to one amazing soul. All you have to do is leave us a 5-star review, take a snapshot of it, take a screenshot of it, and tag us on Instagram. And our handle is Journey Home to Self. All you have to do is take a screenshot of it and post it on your Instagram stories and tag us at Journey Home to Self. That is our podcast handle where you can follow us and get behind the scenes of the show and all other amazing content. All right, let's get into today's show. I'm excited about this because today we're talking about inner child healing. And I totally believe that our inner child, the little girl, she's the one who initiates us on this journey. She's the one who says, hey, you've betrayed me. You've betrayed my dreams. You've betrayed my bliss, the joy that I wanted to feel. And I want you to come back to me and pay attention to me. And inner child healing is such an important part of our journey home. And today I have my friend, one of my clients, and the beautiful Michelle Crowder-Soellner. Michelle is known as a visionary integrator and launch doula. In these roles, she's able to blend her background in both social work and theater to help multi-passionate visionaries go from idea to implementation. She loves being your biggest hype girl as you blaze your own trail and also the calm presence you turn to when business gets stressful. And on this episode, Michelle is going to talk about this beautiful journey that she took early this year, where she healed her inner child and went through some challenges. And she will share with you what those challenges were, how she empowered herself to move through them, and the wisdom she gained from it. This is a juicy episode with lots of teaching moments and a lot of aha moments as well for us, where we think about, oh my God, I feel the same too, or I haven't thought about it the same way. So dig in. Let's get into Michelle's story, Michelle's journey of coming back home to herself. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Deepshika. Thank you so much for having me on.
I am so happy and excited for this conversation. And of course, the audience knows a little bit about you, but we want to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about what you do, where you live, and then we'll get into our exciting topic for today. I'm really thrilled for this conversation.
Thank you. So my current label for myself is visionary integrator and launch doula. So I support visionaries in their business, like bringing their vision to life, staying true to their values and their capacity. And then my newest offer is the launch doula, where I support people who are launching to create a plan that encompasses all that strategy, but really takes into account the self-care and the energy management and all of that.
Oh, I love that. It's so important in our work. Beautiful. And where are you joining us from today, Michelle?
I am in Zephyr Hills, Florida. If you've ever had a bottle of Zephyr Hills water, that's where I live. It's like 30 minutes away from Tampa. And yeah, that's our claim to fame.
Michelle, actually, me and Michelle, we've known each other for a bit now, but I had no idea you lived in Florida. I thought you're from California.
Oh, that's funny. No, I'm in Florida.
Good to know. Good to know something new.
Uh,
All right, Michelle, today we are talking about healing our inner child. And this is such an important discussion because, as I say it often, that the journey home to self is actually a journey back to our inner child. It's back to that little girl, her dreams, her aspirations, the pure joy and bliss that she felt. I think we've all lost touch with her a little bit. And in a lot of moments, she calls us back. She's the one who's calling us back, and she's like, pay attention to me, pay attention to what I need. And you recently had an experience of journey home to her, journey home to self, where you took the opportunity to heal your inner child. Can you tell us a little bit about how that started off for you?
Sure. So it was a little unusual. My daughter was in a car accident. She was fine, but her car was totaled. And that day, I was like crying and crying, and I was like, I should be grateful. Like she and my granddaughter are okay. What's going on here? So I sat there, and I was just trying to think, like, tell me, like, why am I so upset right now? And I felt like my 17, 18-year-old self all over again, this sense of feeling trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I was worried about for my daughter, that she wouldn't have a vehicle. And then I was like, wait, this is a me feeling. So, yeah. I when I realized that, I was like, I want to use the tool that Deepshika taught me in the online retreat you did, to like sit with my inner child and find out more about this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just to so that the audience know that what we're talking about, this was a meditation that we did where we sat with our inner child and we really listened to what she was saying. And I'm so
Mhm.
glad that even though we did that retreat a while ago, that you were able to really use the tools and essentially listen to what she needs. And what was she trying to tell you there?
She was the feelings of being trapped and everything. It just brought back all these emotions from that age. And my biggest dream at that time was to be a professional actor.
Mm,
I had, been in theater throughout high school. I signed up, I joined a theater program right in college, but unfortunately, I left after my first semester. And there was just so much like pain and like, longing
mm,
for this dream.
mhm.
And I clearly heard her telling me, like, you gave up on that. And so I couldn't believe that, uh, my daughter having a car accident led to this moment. Like, wow, that was something buried really deep inside.
Yeah, yeah. And I believe this that, and I know this to be true, this is true for myself as well, that when it's time for our healing, when that little girl and the journey is calling to us, that come take this journey, come back home to me,
Mhm.
we can't see it, we can't hear it. And sometimes we can't even feel it. And it needs a
Mhm.
way in, right?
Right.
It needs to come in, and usually it kind of creates a portal,
Mhm.
and it kind of creates a tear in our lives, so that
Mhm.
we can step back from the mundane, step back from the usual. And
Mhm.
my mentor always say that when you're broken, you're open, and it's through that break that the the insight, the wisdom comes in, then we can hear the call. So I am not surprised, and I'm so glad that your daughter and your granddaughter are okay.
Right.
But in a way, that was a way for you to really sit with your inner child. And another thing that I would love to actually commend you on this is that this is something that not a lot of us do when we are going through these moments of struggle. And I would love to know what you think. We
Mhm.
we just get swept in it, right?
Mhm.
We just go in the spiral of, oh my God, what would have happened? Oh
Mhm.
my goodness, the car is totaled. And we come
Mhm.
up with all these scenarios that can go wrong. And
Mhm.
instead, what you did was that you went into inquiry, right? You used that opportunity, and then you were a witness. Is that something that you've been doing a lot in your life, and is that something that you've learned? Because I feel like that's the first way to start
Mhm.
on the journey, is when we do that inquiry, when we become a witness.
Mhm. Yeah, I do think that I've been doing that for a long time, since I was a child. Like, I journaled so much when I was younger,
Wow.
and yeah, and I stopped journaling for years, so I kind of had shut that part down of me because there was periods in my life where it was so painful that I just didn't want to look any
Yeah,
further.
right.
Um, and then, you know, through starting my business and meeting people like you and starting to turn back inward, that's definitely become a priority for me when things come up, to sit with myself and allow myself to feel the things. And then if the feeling seems like bigger than what the situation is, then to dig further into what that is.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. Embracing the muck. I think one of my things is that I've got really good at is sitting with the terror. I'm like, okay, I'm
Mhm.
terrorized right now, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
sit with it and go deeper.
Yeah.
Getting back to your inner child. So she spoke to
Mhm.
you. She told you that you gave up on me, you gave up on my dreams. And that's
Mhm.
essentially how we do end up abandoning ourselves.
Mhm.
What was next for you? What did you decide to do?
So, I teach theater. I'm an educator. It's something I do on the side that I've been doing for years because my son loves to perform.
Mm.
And I, I've had this like in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, it would be so fun to perform. Like, I love being backstage, but no, that's not in the cards for me yet.
Mm.
Or ever, maybe. And when I heard that, like, I still feel emotional right now. Like, it was so clear to me. And so I was like, you know what? I am looking up auditions right now. And so I looked up auditions and I saw that there were openings for Real Women Have Curves, at a local theater. And there was a role that I read the description and I was like, oh my gosh, if ever a role was like made for me, this is it. And so I looked at when the auditions were happening, and I had a conflict because the shows that I'm stage managing for were performing at the same time the auditions were happening. So then I was like, typical Michelle would have been like, oh, I can't ask for them to extend this, um, be like, give me a special opportunity to audition. But I was like, no, no, no. Inner child Michelle
Right.
is she needs this. So I sent an email. They allowed me to audition and I came in and I got that exact part.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And such a big teaching moment here for everybody who's listening as well, is that our no, 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 I can't do that. I can't ask for what I really, really want, because it's going to put
Mhm.
other people at
Right.
a discomfort, or it's going to be
Mhm.
uncomfortable or not easy for other people. So I can't really ask for what I really, really want. But
Mhm.
you really listened to her and your inner
Mhm.
child, and you were like, you know what? I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And you got the part.
Yes. And
But
it
that's not
was
the end of the story.
no.
And I think that this is where I know that your journey has been so painful, as most of our journeys have been,
Mhm.
but there is so much wisdom in here,
Mhm.
right? And I
Mhm.
think when we tell our stories and they don't have that emotional charge in them, then they become
Mhm.
wisdom, and that's wisdom
Right.
that we can share with other people. And we think, especially in the online business world and in the spiritual world, that when we do this, when we follow our path and we follow our passion, we're going to get instant manifestation, it sure seemed like that for you, but that was not the end. You went through a really challenging time. So tell us about that.
Okay. So what started was the initial challenges were like, challenges that weren't too hard, but I hadn't really thought about. Like, it was a big commitment for me. It's an hour away. I grew up, I'm half Colombian, half American. So I grew up in a family that, like, both sides of my family, very different. My dad was from Tennessee, so lots of Southern people, and then all this big Colombian family. And so I was the gringa in my family.
Mhm.
But growing up, I was also perceived by a lot of people my age to be other. Like, I was brown, I was, so I never really felt like I had a specific identity or a place where I fit in. And so when I first started, like, everybody else in the cast like spoke perfect Spanish, and I'm still here, like, I understand it really well, but I've never truly mastered it. And it was like we clicked so well. Like, we had to do a photo shoot the first time we met, and then they were like getting to know me, and then I was like the gringa again, and I was like, oh, okay. So that was like, okay. And I journaled about that, like what that was for me. And then the show, there's a scene, and if you've watched the movie, there's a similar scene in the movie where all the women strip down to their underwear.
Mhm.
And so the director asked us, like, do you want to wear bodysuits? Do you, and I was like, I think that would take me out of the character. Like, I think I would feel more self-conscious about, like, can they see this, nylon on me and stuff. So I was like, okay, let's go for it. We're going to do this.
Mhm.
Um, but even though I committed to it, it was still really scary.
I'm
It was,
sure. And you've never
yeah.
done this before.
Nope. This is my first performance since high school, my first professional performance. And I got this role right before I turned 40. I feel like I'm rocking the mom bod. Like, I've got all my stretch marks and my cellulite and whatever. And that's like, I'm not saying those are negative things, but like, there is a part of, like, that's a part of my ego that I was like, oh, people are going to see these. Like, and it was and there was one performance, and as you know, I didn't get to make it through the whole run of the show, but there was one performance in particular where, and this is in a small space, it's a black box theater, so a lot of this is happening like 3 feet away from us.
Wow.
um, yeah, so there was one show where we were all getting undressed, and each time one of us took off a piece of clothing, there was the lady in the front row going, "Ugh, oh my gosh, oh geez." And
Wow.
so, yeah, so to stay in character for moments like that were challenging. However, we had people come up to us after the show saying, "Thank you so much.
I'm
Like,
sure.
thank you. Thank you for, portraying what it's like to be Latina. And thank you for, embracing all body types and, like,
Yeah.
making us feel better about that." So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. What a first professional performance after so many years in
Yes.
underwear.
Yeah.
And I would say, what a way to turn 40. Did you turn 40 yet? Is your birthday
Yeah,
still?
I turned 40 during the rehearsal
Oh my
process. So
goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, happy 40th year. And what a way to turn 40. I think it's very empowering to do that, not only just for ourselves, because, well, we all have body shame, no matter
right.
what size we are, which is a completely different conversation. We'll probably have to do another podcast episode just on that. But how
Yeah.
empowering for other people to showcase that to other women as well,
Mhm.
barring that one woman who did not like it, which is
Yeah.
her opinion. Right. And but so were you excited? How did you feel after the show? First of all, let me actually back that up. How did you feel on the stage when you were there in your underwear? Did it feel empowering in that moment, or were you vulnerable? A bit of both. How did that feel for you?
I would say I felt most vulnerable when we first rehearsed it. We were, multi ages. There were a few of us in our 20s. And then, I think maybe I was the second oldest, if I remember correctly. And, we were like mother, daughter, sister relationships and close friends. And we did really bond, but it was still just, we're going to like, we're going to see each other in our underwear. That's weird. But but on the stage, it ended up being really empowering. It wasn't sexual in any way. It was just in the moment in the play, it's really hot. They have no air conditioning. They're having these discussions about, because they're seamstresses, and they're having these discussions about like uh, how clothes are only designed for very thin women,
Mm-hmm.
and like they have body issues in the play. And so as they start to strip, the mother character is like, oh my gosh, how dare you. And then like by the end of it, we were all like looking at each other and saying, oh my gosh, we're all so beautiful.
Yeah,
And we like have this group hug, and uh, every time we did that scene, the audience applauded.
I'm sure.
So
Beautiful.
yeah.
I'm sure even for all the women there, it must have been a very healing moment
Hmm.
for everybody, because not only are you portraying the character that has body issues, we women ourselves, the real you, also goes through that. And it's funny that you said that it was no, I don't remember what you said, but it's not normal to strip down to your underwear. And I'm like, is it though? Because in the
Right.
past we used to live in communities, and when there were communal opportunities for women to get together under the full moon,
Hmm.
they used to strip down, right? There were so many ceremonies and rituals like that. And
Hmm.
of course it's been stigmatized now. Hey, Deepshika here. I just wanted to take a quick break and thank you for tuning in. I love making this podcast for you, and I hope you love listening. If you do, the best way to show it is, yes, you guessed it, reviews. Reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, help the show's visibility and get it to more people. So if you're enjoying the show, let us know. Thanks again. All right, let's get back to the conversation. All right, so your dream became a reality. Your inner child must have been super thrilled. How did you feel after that? What happened after?
So yeah, I do want to say, speaking of my inner child, I think that I healed a part of her too, because if I think I have body issues, that girl, she had all the body issues. Like she was
Yeah.
comparing herself to the magazines, and like, I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like she, and she never would have performed in her underwear because she would have been
Mm,
terrified, thinking they're judging me for this and they're judging me for that. So for me to perform in my underwear, uh, even though it was a challenge, it not only like allowed me to just be like, so what, this is how I look, I take up space and I can be beautiful, but it healed something for her to,
yeah,
to be like the same thing basically. But
that is so beautiful.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And so So as the story deepens, we had to postpone the opening as it was. We had an opening weekend set, and one of our cast members' husband had like a health crisis, and she was the only one who could take care of him. So we had to postpone the opening. And then almost all of the people who were coming to see me, like my husband, all my best friends, like they were coming this the second weekend of the new opening. They weren't going to come opening weekend because they wanted to give me some time to like get comfortable. However, I can't even remember what day it was, if it was the first or second performance. I noticed there was like these black ribbons in my eye that like
Mm.
I don't know how to describe it. It was just like I was sitting there and I saw these black ribbons twirling in my eye and I was like, that's weird. And then the next morning I woke up and the whole bottom corner of my right eye like was completely black. I couldn't see through it. So I still had these performances in front of me. They're on the weekend. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to take the risk. I have no idea what's going on with my eye. I know it can't be good, but I am hoping that it's just something to do with like stress and driving in the sun and so the last few performances I did, like not really being able to see completely, which in itself was a challenge. That's hard to stay in character when like I turn around and I can't see part of somebody's face, but I wasn't going to give up this opportunity. So I made it through and that Monday I went to the eye doctor and he said that my retina had detached and I had a giant retinal tear, and that if I didn't have surgery immediately, I was going to go blind.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. What was your thought process at that time?
I before he said that to me, I was just like, he had explained the retinal detachment and everything. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, how am I going to keep doing my performances? Like, what,
Right.
that's what my number one thing was. I was like asking him all these questions, like, and then finally I said, what happens if I wait? And he goes, that's when he said, you'll go blind and you'll lose the eye. And I instant tears at that point, just the reality of that. And understanding that to have the surgery, I would have to lay in my bed for at least a week. It ended up being 2 weeks on my, like staying in a certain position, which meant I could not perform at all anymore.
That must have
So
been so hard for you to have got the part, to have gone through the whole process, and now being told that you can't perform anymore.
it was heartbreaking. It was like I couldn't even wrap my head around. And when you have those moments sometimes, in the moment, like you always have a lesson from these things, but in the moment, you're just like, why?
Right.
Why would you do this to me? Why would you give me this dream, uh, experience and this amazing opportunity, and then cut it short in this horrible way? So yeah, that's
Right. So
that's
obviously you're here, and
yeah.
my guess is that you've gone through the challenge, but you've also
Yeah.
extracted the lesson and the wisdom. So what do you think was the lesson for you during that challenging time? And your recovery was long. Wasn't just 2 weeks. It was a long,
Yeah.
long recovery.
Yeah, and it's still ongoing. So yeah, I think it was just as much as I would have loved to finish that, and that is something I grieve. That doesn't change. I think that the important lessons that I got out of that were the things that we've already talked about. Like doing the actual performance would have continuing to do it just would have been fun and like and joyful, and that's but the lessons that I had already gotten out of it had happened already. They
Hmm.
like embracing my body, the connecting with my culture and deciding that I get to decide what my cultural identity is, and just that I am capable of doing things that I've been telling myself for years, no, that's not for you. And so I had learned the lessons, and it was just, you know, going forward to know that I am capable of those things,
Yeah.
and that when the time is right, I can go audition for something else if I decide that I want to do that and have fun. And so, yeah, I think that's it. I mean, obviously there's been a lot of stuff in between where I've journaled and thought about what it all means, but what it all comes down to is that life happens. I mean, we make these plans, we wish for things, and sometimes they happen, pretty close to the way we want them to, and other times we we get the important lessons out of it, and then it's like, sorry, that's just the way living on this world is.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the other thing, right? We've been told that it has to be all positive and you have to always, be grateful for what you have. No, you can
Mhm.
still have the wisdom and the lessons and it can still suck.
Yeah.
You can still say that shit that didn't have to happen, right?
Right.
It sucked and it did. Right. I
Mhm.
still know that I have got the lessons. I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to perform in my underwear and,
Mhm.
heal my inner child and embrace
Mhm.
my cultural identity. But
Mhm.
it still fucking sucked.
Yeah. 100%. And like I DM'd you one time at one point where I think it was after my second surgery. And I was just like, you know how you like sometimes when you're spiritual and you think being spiritual is going to give you like all this inner peace and you're like everything's going to be smooth sailing, but nope. it's just it's just having the inner resources to deal with all the shit that gets
Yeah.
thrown at you.
Yeah.
So
I think my biggest lesson on being in this journey is that there is no such thing as being peaceful all the time. Like peace and
right.
chaos can totally exist at the same time, and it often does.
Hmm.
Right? Even if you look at chaos, right, in the center of it is order, right? And that's
Right.
that's what peace is. You have to be able to find peaceful moments in that chaos.
Hmm.
And Michelle, I would love to know from you in that challenging time. And of course, it sucked. And you're saying you're still recovering. And I really hope that you recover completely, 100%, so that you can go back to your dream.
Yeah.
What tools did you tap into to even get you through that challenging time?
Okay, that's a good question. So initially, I did a lot of meditating, a lot really focused on healing. And then it got to a point where I was like, I'm spending all this time doing this, I want to live my life.
Mm.
And so I, started doing more things. I went on a trip of a lifetime over the summer. Basically, after my first surgery, I wasn't allowed to fly for a few months because of what they put in my eye. The second surgery, I was good to go. So I basically recreated this trip out west that I took with my family when I was younger. And even though my eye kind of limited some of my, activity, it like shook me out of my day to day,
Right.
you know, and I know not everybody can do that, but it's just to do things that shake you out of your day to day, that being in nature, just taking time to, and this is something I've done a lot of times when I've experienced overwhelming things in my life, is I do spend a lot more time outside. I just sit and be still, and I try not to think about anything. If I think, I just observe the thoughts and let them go, and I just focus on the world around me, because there really is so much,
Right.
and then it's been recent that I've been like, okay, my eye is not I was wearing an eye patch until recently, even though I didn't really need one because it helped me see better.
Hmm.
But I was like, I don't know when I'm going to see the way I want to see. I really don't know if that's even possible anymore. I don't know what my vision will ultimately end up like, but I can try to make this eye stronger again. So, because the eye patch, makes it weak. So I stopped wearing the eye patch, and I've just been doing that has allowed a level of acceptance that when you have a procedure like this, you're hoping it's going to go back to what it was before. But I don't know that. And I just, I can accept now that it is what it is. And at least I can still see. My other eye has always been my better eye. I have good enough vision. And so, yeah, I think that's really how I've dealt, like having good friends and family who have supported me by driving me and things like that. Yeah, but the tools I've used have really just been surrender,
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing you say is, and I definitely want to reiterate it, maybe using different words so that people who are listening can also understand it. What you're saying is that instead of worrying about the
Mhm,
day-to-day stressors
mhm,
of life, you chose to be in the present moment
mhm,
of being in nature, of enjoying your time with family, of going on a trip and enjoying what you have in front of you right now in the
mhm.
present moment, instead of worrying about what's going to happen in future with my eye or regretting about what happened in the past. That,
Exactly.
wow. Right? How about
Mhm.
that? How many times do we do that? Right? We are always constantly either regretting or stressing about something that happened in the past or worrying about what's going to happen in the future. But the only time that we have is the present moment. There is no future. Even when you are in the future, it's still the present. And
Right.
we totally do not give our time and energy to this beautiful, generous present moment. And that's what you did. And that's what helped you to come back to
Mhm.
yourself. And I
Yeah.
think the second thing you're saying is that instead of, again, worrying and stressing about what's going to happen with your eye, whether you'll be able to see it with it, how it was before, you said, I am going to surrender to the fact that it's not what it was right now. And now I'm
Mhm,
going to take action. Now I'm going to do something about it to make it better.
mhm.
I
Yes.
love that you use the word surrender and acceptance as well, Michelle, because a lot of people, and surrender again has become such a big fad, in
Mhm,
the spiritual industry, and a lot of people use this word to signify a loss. Like, I surrender. I have no
mhm,
control. I have no choice. I
mhm,
give up. And
mhm.
I think that's surrender with hopelessness. And I think what you did is with surrender with trust. I surrender,
Exactly.
I accept, but I also trust that if I do this, it's going to get better.
Right. I exactly. Like I one of my current mantras when I catch myself like whether it's about my eye or something else that it's just like the little fear hamster wheel in my brain and I just say I feel this, I release it, I surrender. And that doesn't mean like I don't know for sure if my eye is going to be better, but I know that it's going to be what is right for my path.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, Michelle. How do you feel today? How do you feel about everything? What's going on with you right now?
I feel, I feel pretty good. Like I do think that it's in these times, if you have the tools and the support system, I'm not saying that everybody can get through every really hard thing that happens to them. This definitely isn't the first or the worst thing that's happened to me. And so I think if we have those resources and we have the support system and we can get through these times and feel like they shaped something in us. And so it got me to a point where I am, when we get lost in that day to day, we even when things are going wonderful in our world, we can forget to be grateful or forget to notice things. But these types of experiences can really put a super focus on things so that you can notice all of the positive and the things that you have to be grateful for. So that's where I am right now.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And in the end, Michelle, I know that this journey home to self is not a one-time thing, right? I feel like
Right.
we take these little trips. These are
Yeah.
infinite small journeys all our life. And every time we shift a little, our perspective changes. We embody a little bit more wisdom. We get a little bit better in healing our inner child. How has this journey, this small little journey, has impacted your other areas of your life, maybe your family life, and particularly as a business owner, how has this impacted you?
It really, again, just helped eliminate a lot of the like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that. And, I, you knew me formerly as a copywriter. And so that's something that I went into business. I'm like, oh, I've been writing my whole life. This will be great. And even though I've had some of the most amazing clients, there was just, it still wasn't fitting. Like it wasn't right for me. And so it gave me that clarity, like to keep pushing, like, okay, what is right for me, what is, and I'm a generator, so that's really important to be able to distinguish like what feels right. And so it put that focus where I was able to think of this launch doula thing, come up with an offer that really supports me and my family, and that is something that really supports the people I serve as well. So,
Yeah, beautiful. And one of my goals on this podcast is to show that we are constantly evolving and none of us are perfect. We haven't really reached the end. And there is no end to this.
right.
What's that? What journey are you on right now? And what's the lesson or challenge or gift in it that you're seeing right now?
Um, I think the business is the hugest part of my journey right now. It's like still um, because it's a recent pivot, and stepping into the confidence that it takes to talk about it, find the right clients, all of that, and the visibility piece, that is the connection in all of this too, that I had visibility was like one of the hardest things for me in my business. And I know that there's like the witch wound and all of that. But I know that being neurodivergent, I also am more prone to like rejection sensitivity. So visibility is extra hard.
Mhm.
And, but you know, performing in my underwear, it's like, how much more visible can you be?
Exactly, exactly. I was going to say that. I was like, girl.
So, yeah, so that's where I am right now. My journey is to like reconcile that and just like,
Yeah.
be okay with like if somebody doesn't want to work with me, it's not any doesn't mean anything about me as a person. It's just not a good fit.
Right,
So,
right. I can totally see that that's the journey for you. And I would even encourage you to take some power from that girl who was standing in her underwear on the stage because she has her visibility down.
yeah.
Lovely, Michelle. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Any last words that you would like to share with the audience and tell us about where they can find you? If they want to work with you, what can they do to find you?
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. You've been a mentor of mine from pretty early on. The first time I saw you doing a live on Instagram, I was like, oh, I got to know more about her. So I'm really grateful. And yeah, I would say to make space, and it's easier said than done, but to make space to feel your feelings,
Mhm.
and to find tools like journaling or tapping, or whatever other tools that can help you if a feeling just you can't sort it out, like to help you feel those feelings, because so much you can learn so much about yourself, and you can open up so many new doors when you understand your feelings really well. And prioritize that. And that's something that I do with my clients, is to make sure that when they're in a stressful launch period, to make time to feel the feelings and to give themselves the rest and the nurturing that they need.
Mm.
And I think probably the best way to find me is on Instagram. I'm Instagram. I don't have to say the whole thing,
We'll
but
put
I'm
in the show notes. Don't worry. We'll put
okay.
in the show
Okay. And
notes.
then, and I love having coffee chats. I aim for 2 a week. And it's not to sell anything. It doesn't have to be about business even. I've had coffee chats where we've cried about political things that are happening together. But yeah, so that's the way that I like to connect with people.
Awesome. So everyone who's listening, go find Michelle on Instagram and grab a spot on her coffee chat. Follow Journey Home to Self on Instagram as well. If you like this episode, share it with someone. Michelle, did I tell you about my crazy goal that I have?
I don't know of a crazy goal.
Okay, so I have this, and I probably have said this on the podcast before. I'm going to say this again for people who are listening new. My crazy goal, and I always like to say it loud because Michelle, you're going to be my witness, and I want to say it loud to the universe. My crazy goal is for 1 million souls to go on this journey. That's my crazy goal. And I don't know when I'm going to get it, maybe 100 years from now, but that's my goal. And I would love for you to help me with this goal. So go share it with 2 people, go hit that 3 dots, copy the link, text it to a friend or 2. Don't do it while you're driving, but I would love for you to share this episode. You don't know who needs to hear the wisdom in Michelle's story today. So go ahead, do that. I would see you in the next episode. Michelle, thank you so much. I wish you all the best and a full recovery very, very soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Journey Home to Self. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. And of course, your 5-star reviews are always appreciated. Thanks again, and see you next week.